Hello and welcome to this fifth day of the 30-day Yoga Asana challenge. In this session we're going to look at Bhujangasana, which is the Cobra posture. The Cobra is one of the cornerstone postures in the yoga practice, in the Hatha or the physical yoga practice. It's a very well-known posture and often one that is not very much enjoyed. Unfortunately, people tend to feel quite a lot of abdominal pressure in Bhujangasana and discomfort generally, I think, constricted breath, perhaps tightness in the head. And there's really no need for this. Bhujangasana can be a very enjoyable, a very opening and a very freeing practice. And today we're going to look at how we can prepare the body in order to practice Bhujangasana comfortably and easily and enjoyably, and also just looking at the practice itself quite closely to see how it really works. Often the posture is misunderstood and people press up into the back bend that's involved in Cobra using their arms, whereas in reality snakes haven't got arms. And the posture, of course, really works with the intention of the back muscles structuring and organising the spine into the back bend that's involved in the posture. The arms are used in the posture, but really to stabilise the trunk gently, to assist with gauging the balance and keeping the evenness of work through the trunk to the right side and to the left side. They're not the main players. Bhujangasana, because of the way it works our back muscles and also the core muscles, the abdominal strength muscles, is really helpful for the posture, including the posture of the neck. So that's an everyday benefit and advantage of the practice. Sometimes people coming from European cultures or perhaps Christian-based cultures find it strange to practice a snake as a posture. But however, in the Indian culture from which the yoga emanates, the snake symbolises renewal and development, really, because of the way in which the snake is able to shed its skin and renew itself each time. And the yoga path as well is one in which purification and renewal plays a very, very big role. Where Bhujangasana is a back bend, a hyperextension of the spine, and we open the front of the spine, of course it works with the sympathetic nervous system, the nervous system that tends to excite us, the nervous system that is the one that gives us the impetus when we need to escape from something, or if we become highly stressed, that's all the sympathetic nervous system. And we might say, well, why would we want to stimulate that system when yoga is supposed to be relaxing us? And of course the answer to that is that we're learning with back bends how to stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, but with control, with balance and with regulation. We come into an enlivenment of the sympathetic nervous system at the same time as working a very controlled pattern of breathing. And so because we are constantly in our nervous systems in an interplay between the sympathetic nervous system, which excites us and gets us going, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms us down and allows us times of recuperation. It's important that we're able to get an element of discipline and structure into our sympathetic nervous system arousal. At the pranic level, the life energy level that we've discussed so far across this 30-day challenge, the Cobra, where at the base of the spine the posture is very grounded with the earth, works very much with the base chakra, the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra. And this plays into really the fundamental essence of what it is to be embodied here on this planet. We are creatures with a body, we are grounded to the earth. And so Muladhara chakra is a lot about our sense of security, our sense of safety, our sense of our ability to survive, about our relationship with home as well, and our relationship with the planet, and our relationship indeed with our own species. The whole of the spine, of course, is mobilized in Bhujangasana. So in some ways we're feeding the energy of base chakra into all of the chakras. There's that sense of flow. I should mention contraindications. This is not a posture to practice if you should happen to be pregnant. And it's a posture, again, to be very cautious of if you have high blood pressure or any abdominal complaints or conditions. But in any case, if you have any joint problems or injuries or conditions that could be made worse through exercise of any kind, always check with your medical practitioner before engaging in this or any exercise program. Let's gradually move into the practice route that will lead us into today's practice of Bhujangasana. And to do that, we're going to first of all come down onto the mat and rolling down through the length of the spine, just stretching the spine out to come through towards the floor. And then usually useful just to arrange the spine a little bit. We can always lift the hips up and then replace the pelvis towards the mat, balancing the weight out right side, left side. We can lift the ribs up and just lengthen the waist a little bit out of the hips and bringing the ribs down, balancing the weight out right side, left side. And then bringing the hands into the back of the head, supporting the head. We're going to let the neck lengthen from between the shoulder blades through to the crown, and then just bringing the weight of the head back through towards the mat. Then from here, let's allow the right leg to slide away from us, just letting it stay in line with the hip joint and letting the tailbone lengthen towards that heel. So if the leg is in line with the hip joint, there should be a sense that the tailbone can lengthen towards that lower heel. And we'll keep the left knee bent and the sole of the left foot in contact with the mat. And then being here, as we breathe in, we're going to stretch towards the right heel, opening up as much as we can over the front of the right hip, keeping the small of the back of the waist close to the mat. Inhaling, the arms sweep up and back, aiming to feel the sides of the rib cage opening and lengthening, and the spine through the upper back opening and lengthening. And then on the exhalation, each time the arms coming back to the sides and the whole body relaxing into the mat. So let's again, as we're ready, breathe in to feel the spine lengthening between the reach into the lower leg and the reach into the arms. And then on the exhalation, the arms coming back to the sides. See if you can, in this position, really use the action of the arms to create space between the ribs, and using the breath itself as it deepens as the arms flow back to also stretch the muscles between the ribs. We're just going to let this flow through 2 more breaths on this side. Inhalation to reach into our stretch. Exhalation to release and let go pretty much completely from that movement. And as we come through to the end of that second round of the breath, we're just going to exchange the legs over. So this time the left leg lengthens away and the right knee is bent with the sole of the foot in contact with the mat. And again, as we stretch into the left leg, there should be a sense of that the small of the back can move in the direction of the floor and the tailbone can lengthen towards that left heel. And with the inhalation, as the arms stretch up and back, the small of the back stays close to the mat and the spine through the back of the ribcage also in contact with the mat. And on the exhalation, relaxing it all down. So it's 4 more rounds of the breath here. Aiming each time to feel the front and the back of the spine lengthening, to feel the rib cage opening, especially the sides of the chest opening. Really letting your breath flow. And then as you come through to the end of the fourth round of the breath on this side. We're going to again let the left knee bend and the sole of the left foot come in contact with the mat. And from there, I'm just going to come a little bit down the mat again and rearrange the body, so letting the pelvis lift and then balancing the weight right side, left side back to the mat, and then lifting the ribs and stretching the spine and the waist out of the hips and bringing the ribs back to the mat, balancing the weight out right side and left, supporting the head with the hands, releasing the spine from between the shoulder blades towards the crown, and again centering the weight of the head towards the mat. We're going to let the feet come in as close to the sitting bones, the heels come as close to the sitting bones as is comfortable, so the shin bones might be upright to the floor and the heels directly underneath the knees. So we can have the heels in front of the knees, ahead of the knees, but not behind the knees. That wouldn't be good for the knee joints. So ideally, for the optimum lift in the posture, if it feels comfortable, we're not getting cramp in the back of the legs, then let's bring the heels in underneath the knees and the heels reasonably close to the sitting bones, that's to say the bottom. And then we're going to really allow the heels to ground towards the mat, keeping weight or contact through the ball of the foot and the pad of the little toe. Let's just spend 2 or 3 breaths here to, especially on the exhalations, get the lower abdomen to draw down and back and the navel draw to the spine. And then as you're ready, with an inhalation, press the heels into the floor. See if we can flow the spine up and away from the mat, hips flowing through, lifting the breastbone, and at the same time allowing our arms to travel up and back and behind us. And then from this position with the exhalation, we're going to roll the spine back through towards the mat, aiming to come down vertebra by vertebra. Keep lengthening towards the crown of the head as you roll the tailbone and stretch it back down towards the mat all the way through. Then with the arms still behind us, we're going to breathe in, opening the sides of the chest here, and with the exhalation, the arms coming back towards our sides. So then, as soon as you're ready, next inhalation, letting the navel and the lower abdomen sink towards the spine. We can press the heels into the floor, flowing up, letting the pelvis flow up, lengthening the spine from the crown of the head towards the tailbone. And on the same inhalation, letting our arms flow up and back as well. Arms stay where they are as we roll down through the spine. Keep lengthening towards the crown of the head as you try to stretch the rest of the spine in the opposite direction back through towards the mat. And then again being back on the floor through the trunk of the body, breathing in, lots of space through the sides of the rib cage and over the front of the spine. And on the exhalation, the arms coming back to the sides. Let's flow this version of the Dvipadipittam through twice more. So heels press into the floor, inhalation, rolling the spine away from the mat. Let the navel keep pulling to the spine. Breastbone lifts, arms flow back. And then once again, as we're ready on the exhalation, rolling back down through the spine to the mat. Breathing in with the arms still behind us. Exhalation to let the arms come through to the floor again. Last flowing action, inhalation, rolling up, press the heels into the mat. Feel the whole spine lengthen from the crown to the tailbone. Arms also flow back and the breastbone lifts. Keep the navel pulling to the spine and the breath is in the chest. And then on the exhalation, the spine rolls back through towards the mat. We breathe in here, space through the sides of the chest, sides of the waist, spine long. And then exhalation to let the arms come back to the sides. Just spend a moment here to let the spine relax, to let the breath relax. And then gradually, as you feel ready, we're going to flow into a version of Vatnyasana. And it's this version of Vatnyasana where as we breathe out, the right leg initially is going to come towards the abdomen,
fastening underneath the back of the knee joint. Really hug the leg in quite firmly, keep the abdomen sinking down and back, using the strength in the midsection, round up head and neck and shoulders. Breathing in to roll the spine back into the mat. With the exhalation, the right leg slides away, the left leg hugs in and towards you, navel pulls to the spine, squeeze at the midsection to come up, so the arms not really doing the work of bringing the body up. Breathing in to roll the spine back into the mat. Exhalation, you're bringing your other leg in, squeeze at the center to roll up. Breathing in to send that leg away and breathing out to flow through to the other side. And what happens when we flow side to side like this is that often as we bring one leg in, the other leg begins to lift up, or the knee to bend and the thigh to come up a bit. And this is actually really unhelpful. We're trying to keep the front of that hip on the lower side each time, the long leg side really open. So in some ways we're doing this practice to, of course, mobilize the spine, but also to keep our hip open. So you need to keep stretching through the inside leg from the tailbone towards the heel or the toes, whichever you prefer. Breathing in to roll back down. Exhalation to come up. So once more to each side. And just releasing and letting go for a moment. So we'll let the knees and the toes roll outwards, legs rolling outwards, arms rolling onto the elbows and the backs of the hands. And again, just spending a moment to let the body relax and to be aware of the energy that there may be moving around the region of the spine at present. And then gradually, as you're ready, just going to reach a stretch all through the length of the body, reaching up, reaching down. And then we're going to come over, coming onto one side and rolling up towards a seated position. Here in seated, try to come into a comfortable position. So that might be cross-legged, or it could be that we're not comfortable unless the legs move forwards and in front of us. We're aiming to keep the back quite tall, so again that might mean sitting up on a cushion or a little stool, just to keep the back nice and tall. And here we're going to come into releasing and lengthening the neck a little bit. So from the tailbone to the crown, lots of height through the spine. If we think in terms of drawing the tailbone down, as we keep the lower abdomen strong and the navel pulling to the spine, we pull the tailbone down and lift up powerfully into the crown of the head. So there should be a little bit of a stretch going up through the spine. And then from there, let's keep lengthening the neck from between the shoulder blades. We're going to lift up to come over, let the head and neck begin to move towards your left side as you a little bit walk the right fingertips as much away from you as you can in this position. So trunk is still staying centered, most of the spine is really tall, just only the neck is lifting up to go over. We should feel a reasonably powerful stretch through this region as we really try to walk the fingertips away from us. And they won't go very far, but it's just that sense of trying to really stretch and open the arm in that direction. And then allowing the left arm and fingertips to relax and bringing the head and the neck back to the center. So again, that dynamic through the spine, tailbone driving downwards, crown of the head moving upwards, strengthen the lower abdomen and the midsection to help us with that dynamic, and then lifting up from between the shoulder blades to let the head move up and over towards the right side, whilst the left hand and arm walks just a little bit away over towards the left side. So again, keep lengthening up to come over through the neck, and working that left arm a little bit away. So again, it won't go very far, but there should be a good stretch through the side of the neck. So breathing, remembering to breathe, and then again rebuilding the neck and releasing there. So in the back bend, the neck really should, the back bend of the Bhujangasana, the Cobra,
the neck should really lengthen and flow along, following from out of the same line as the rest of the spine. So no extra arching like that. And we're just going to practice lengthening the neck into an arc here. So one thing that we can do to help ourselves practice that is to bring the hand onto the breastbone, so that as we breathe in, the chest will lift and rise. And then with the exhalation, we're going to apply just a little bit of pressure from the hand onto the breastbone. We're going to keep lifting the neck from between the shoulder blades, vertebra by vertebra up, releasing each vertebra away from the one below so that we lift up but also back. And we just breathe out and then breathe in to return. So the back of the neck should stay long and open, as long and as open as possible as you move back a little way. So again, give it another couple of goes, breathing in, and on the exhalation, the hand depresses the breastbone, letting the base of the breastbone move downwards as we lengthen up behind the breastbone through the spine, and then on into the neck, on into the crown, keeping the back of the neck as long and as free as possible, and releasing again. So there should be absolutely no pinching in the back of the neck. So last practice on this one. Collarbones stay open, shoulder blades wide and moving down the back. Midsection needs to stay strong to keep the lower spine lifting. And then again, releasing and relaxing from that. We're going to gradually flow that action a little bit more forwards and then backwards through more of the spine and then connecting into the neck. So it's a seated cat stretch, and we can just let the hands rest on the knees if we're in cross-legged. It should work as well being in this position too. So that should also work. And we come back again to the sense of the tailbone driving down and the crown moving up, and the lower abdomen engaging, moving in and back, and the navel pulling to the spine. So from here, as we really hollow in the lower abdomen and then pull the navel to the spine and squeeze the waist inwards from the sides to the front, we squeeze the ribs together at the base of the breastbone. We should roll forwards with the core strength and the abdominal muscles having brought us in. And then again, we return to the upright position, tailbone drives down, we unfurl through the spine, lift up into the crown, keep lengthening up from between the shoulder blades into the crown, keep working quite strongly between the ribs and the pelvis as if you're trying to still hold them together, but through the spine you're lifting up and back. And then once again, as you're ready on the exhalation, hollowing in the lower abdomen, navel pulls to the spine, sides and the front of the waist squeeze in, squeeze in the muscles at the base of the breastbone to pull the ribs together at the base of the breastbone, head and neck round forwards. And then once again, as you're ready, breathing in to unfurl through the spine, moving up to go back. So let's just flow that through another couple of times. Exhalation. Inhalation. Exhalation. Inhalation. And then into that, just to make ourselves feel our back muscles work a little bit harder, we're going to begin to add in an arm movement. So as we go up to go back, we're going to let the arms open and aiming to feel that the arms open from out of the line of the collarbones and that they stimulate the upper back muscles as they move back. And then again with the exhalation, rolling from the core strength from the lower abdomen, midsection, base of the breastbone, spine rolls, and the arms just follow through, reaching towards the fingertips, backs of the hands coming together to stretch the upper back. And then again from the tailbone, flow upwards, supporting the spine, back muscles working, open the chest. And once again, exhalation, roll into the cat stretch. Inhalation, use your back muscles to organize your spine and support it into the back bend. Inhalation. And then the last time, flowing through
And then once more right from the base of the spine, supporting all the way up and back. And releasing from there. Good. So that is quite a hard-working practice. And where the arms aren't able to push into air to give us the back bend, and we can't push away from the ground to create the back bend, we're having to use our back muscles and our core muscles and our abdominal muscles in order to move the spine into that back bend. So we're going to try to remember how that actually felt and worked in a moment when we're practicing the Cobra Bhujangasana lying on the abdomen. In the meantime, we're going to do one more practice to open the hips again. And that involves coming into the all fours, and in the all fours just checking that we've got lots of space for the spine so we can reach back hips to heels for a moment, and then breathing in, bringing ourselves back to the all fours. So ideally in our all fours position, shoulder blades wide and moving down the back, lower abdomen nice and lifted, navel pulling to the spine, and the muscles working around the rib cage so that it keeps funneling in towards the spine. And then we're going to release one leg, so we need to keep lots of lift in the lower abdomen so that both shoulders, both hips stay the same height. And as that leg goes back, we're going to just tuck the toes under and then begin to push into the heel. And the crucial thing here is to keep the ribs and the pelvis moving towards one another whilst the spine lengthens in the center of the trunk, so that we begin to feel a bit of opening here on the front of the hip. If we let the hips swing, or if we let this hip go back with the heel, we won't feel much lengthening. We need to keep the spine lengthening between the tailbone and the crown forwards. Keep moving the ribs and the pelvis towards each other. Keep the hips square, and then pressing through so you begin to get a bit of opening here. So we keep breathing and then releasing on that side. So we just realign, both hands down, both knees down, and then again keeping the lower abdomen really lifted. We release one leg. We have to replace the strength of the thigh with the abdominal wall pulling up, beneath the hips on the side of the working leg. And then as you're ready again, toes tuck under. We support the spine. We keep the ribs and the pelvis moving towards each other. Strength in the waist keeps pulling them together as much as possible, pushing into that heel and lengthening forwards through the spine so you really open up in this back hip. So breathing, making sure that you breathe, and then again relaxing on that. So we're going to let the hips move back and towards the heels from the fingertips, lengthening back through the arms, over the shoulder joints, opening again the sides of the rib cage, the sides of the waist, so we get as much space as we can between the fingertips and the sitting bones, moving back like this. And aiming to keep the front of the spine really open. And if that means that if the spine is a little bit rounded when the elbows and the shoulders are very extended, just let the elbows bend a little so that the shoulders aren't having to stretch quite so much, so that you again come back to that sense of length through the spine. And if the hips to the heels position doesn't quite suit you, instead rest on the forearms, keep your abdominal muscles working, lengthen back, lifting the sitting bones up and back a little bit, supporting your spine here. And in either position, making sure that you keep breathing. And then once again, as you're ready, just going to breathe in, bringing ourselves back towards the all fours. So we're ready now to begin practicing the Bhujangasana, the Cobra. And first of all, the first practice we'll do will be a moving, flowing practice, just so that we can keep refining the position for the spine rather than one set position. We keep refining it, help us to get more used to spacing the spine out and supporting it in this prone back bend. As we come down to the floor, it will definitely help us if we maintain support for the spine before the pelvis reaches the mat. So just a little bit of engagement in the lower abdomen, nice powerful lift in the lower abdomen, navel pulling to the spine. So as the hips come through to the floor, the waist towards the floor and the ribs, we've got some support beneath the spine just to help us lift back up again when we're ready to do that. We're going to, again, which I find is very, very helpful in the Cobra, just keep the legs in line with the hip joints, so it's about 2 fist distance apart, and then we're going to just gently open over the front of the hip by lengthening back through one thigh bone towards the knee, towards the heel, and then replacing that leg to the mat, and then the same thing on the other side, keeping those lifts in your abdomen, navel pulling to the spine, a little bit of stretch, and then bringing the leg down. And that should help to release the base of the spine, give you a bit of space, as well as it's opened the hip flexors, which need to open in order for us to be able to get a bit of freedom in the Cobra here. So I'm going to just start with the arms, forearms close to the sides of the rib cage. And I'm going to think in terms of my tailbone sinking down towards the mat, and the pubic bone is engaged to the mat. Keep the navel drawn to the spine. As I breathe in, the first thing I'm really thinking about is a lengthening from the tailbone to the crown. And then I'm going to get some strength to work in the back of my waist, muscles in the back of the ribs working. Keep lengthening forwards, upper back muscles working, shoulder blades wide and moving down the back in the direction of the sitting bones. So I inhale to here. And then on this practice at present, with the exhalation, we're just going to flow it right back down again. So the tailbone anchors. As I begin my inhalation, I move towards the crown of the head. I aim to keep my chin tucking towards the breastbone. But funnily enough, the breastbone itself needs to lead forwards beneath the spine. I get my back muscles to work behind me, all through the inhalation flowing up. My arms are just really stabilizing and keeping my weight balanced right side, left side. As I get a little bit higher, the chin moves slightly away from the breastbone, and then the exhalation to come back down. So let's do 4 more practices like that. The inhalation to lengthen forwards, leading with the breastbone beneath the spine, opening forwards and then upwards, back muscles working. Exhalation to roll back down. On that exhalation coming down, if you can, really lift the navel towards the spine again. And as you breathe in, coming into the Cobra, keep the navel pulling to the spine. So now a key point about Cobra is that the hips stay in contact with the floor. So it's really more like Urdhva Mukha Svanasana when the hips lift away from the floor. And as you return to the mat that last time, let's have a little breather. So I'm going to let the hands come in underneath the head. You can just turn the head, let the head rest on the hands, and let the heels roll outwards, the knees roll inwards, and spending a moment to relax the back. And usually after the Cobra, we need to let the exhalation re-lengthen and the inhalation just to relax a little. So we're going to come into held Bhujangasana practice, and with that again as well, we need to, as we continue to breathe,
Remember on the exhalations to keep engaging in the lower abdomen, lifting it up and back, drawing the navel to the spine, and letting your breath really fill your chest. So I think it's worthwhile in the Cobra, when you're breathing in, to think in terms of the breath widening out behind the collarbones, back towards the tops of the shoulder blades, and then letting the breath move out into the space beneath the shoulder joints and back, and really wide into the back of the floating ribs. Aiming not to breathe forwards too much, because that's part of what puts a lot of pressure into the abdomen, pushing it forwards, overstretching it when it's already stretched a little bit in the posture. And that's one of the reasons that people find Bhujangasana so uncomfortable. So if you find it difficult to breathe in the chest in Bhujangasana, rather have a lower position. Try not to lift so high into the Cobra whilst you build up your strength in a shorter position, because if the abdomen's too stretched, you can't build up the strength in the posture. It's better to be a little bit lower down in a position where you can really keep control of your abdominal muscles. And then once they get used to that practice, you'll be able to lift higher with lots of comfort. And not just that, also lots of enjoyment. Bhujangasana is a posture, when I first started doing yoga, I really didn't enjoy. And now I really do enjoy it, but I did have to drop back on my positions and get stronger. And often just dropping back is the way to get stronger. And then from there you can make so much more progress. Let's have a look at this Bhujangasana again. So to help me to have the strength that I need in the core muscles in the practice, I just lift my hips up, so I'm on the knees, and then I get a nice powerful lift from just above the tailbone and into the lower abdomen, the navel pulling to the spine, and as I bring the weight of my pelvis and then the waist towards the mat, I don't let go of my abdominal core strength. And then coming down, especially for a held position, I'm going to let my shoulder blades be quite centered in either side of the rib cage. The shoulder blades move towards the sitting bones, and the sitting bones begin to direct towards the heels. And the tailbone grounds and the pubic bone grounds, and then again, just let yourself lift up during the course of about 3 to 4 breaths, and then we'll hold for about 2 to 3 breaths. So first inhalation, lengthening the spine, filling the chest, top of the chest and back, mid-chest and back, back into the floating ribs. And then exhalation, renewing the lift in the lower abdomen, navel pulling to the spine, shoulder blades move down the back, sitting bones move back. Once again, as you're ready, keeping the chin a little bit tucked, letting the breastbone lift from beneath the spine, breathing in again to flow up. And then breathing out again, really anchor the tailbone, sitting bones reach back, shoulder blades move back. And then again, another breath here. So this posture is still mainly supported from the back strength. I need some help from the arms. And breathing here, so every breath broad behind the collarbones and back. Breathing out, engaging the abdominal strength. Letting the tailbone keep grounded, sitting bones moving back, shoulder blades moving back. Whole spine lengthening upwards and out of the tailbone. And the last breath here. And once again, we're just going to roll back towards the mat. Bring the hands in under the head, and then we can turn the head in the opposite direction this time. Heels rolling outwards, and just allowing the body to release a little bit there. So, as you're ready, let's again just press up, breathe in, breathe out to reach the hips back and towards the heels, stretching the lower back. Just allowing it to relax again for a moment, or again if it feels a little bit strong on the knees, pressing back with the weight on the forearms, deep lift in the abdomen to keep the spine supported. Breathing here.
And then again, as you're ready, with an inhalation, we're going to just walk out of those positions. And so that was our Bhujangasana practice, a little flowing Bhujangasana, and then a held Bhujangasana. And we have on the 30-day challenge already looked at the Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog, and also the Chaturanga Dandasana, the plank. And these three practices, Bhujangasana, Chaturanga Dandasana and Adho Mukha Svanasana, tend to be frequently flowed into one another. They tend to be sequenced with one another. And the way that we've looked at these practices in the 30-day challenge is by really concentrating a lot on our upper back strength and our back strength in general. And if you feel ready, you can, with me now, perhaps link those three practices together and see how it goes. So again, it does take a little bit of practice, but if we really work with lots of strength behind us in these postures, they should begin to flow with a degree of ease and facility. So if you're not sure, just watch through the first couple of times. I'll practice the flowing sequence twice, so you can certainly watch it the first time and then join in the second time if this is your first time of watching. So for Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, we need the insides of the arms to follow the line of the outsides of the ribcage, shoulder blades wide and shoulder blades moving in the direction of the sitting bones. And then as we inhale towards our all fours position, we tuck the toes under, we make sure that all of the joints of the hands are down, we hover with the core strength in the lower abdomen first, and once again from the fingertips to the sitting bones, we lengthen through the sides of the body, right back and then up. So lower abdomen lifts up and back, navel pulls to the spine, checking in with your upper back strength. So feeling that the shoulder blades are wide and moving up the back, your breastbone moves towards your spine and the collarbone's really open. So from here, as we move through towards Bhujangasana, we need to keep the upper back strength in place. So keep the breastbone and the spine moving towards each other, collarbone still opening, shoulder blades are wide, and it's as if you've got strings lifting your shoulder blades up towards the ceiling. Pull up through the gluteal muscles as if they're going to arrive in the shoulder blades. Stretch towards your heels and lengthen the spine forwards. Keep the strength behind you. Abdominal muscles pull up and back. We exhale down towards the mat, knees, chest, chin, and then breathing in, keep the back strength working to lift you up. Even though the hands are there and the arms are there, they could help. Aim to come up with your back strength. Breathing in again and exhaling back to go up, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So again, just to check that you've got the right distances, hips to heels, collarbones broad and open, upper back and shoulders strong. Hover initially with your lower abdominal strength. Reach back, outsides of the arms are working, upper back, ribs narrow into the spine, waist the same, lift in the lower abdomen, shoulder blades move towards the sitting bones, knees don't need to straighten. Once again, as you're ready, hovering forwards, breathing in, collarbones stay broad and open, shoulder blades wide and pulling up, ribs squeeze into the spine, back of your waist working, pull up through the gluteal muscles, spine stretches forwards, legs lengthen back, breathing in, diving to the mat, up to come forwards. Once again, exhalation, back and up. Just here for a moment in the downward dog, letting your spine lengthen. You can always bend the knees just to really feel a release, tailbone to crown. Keeping the hips broad and wide, ribs and shoulders broad and wide, breathing. And then on an exhalation, you can relax down, coming through into the child. And again, if the forehead's not able to make it to the mat, just stack the fists in underneath the forehead so that the head and neck have some support. And then, as you're ready, with an inhalation, rolling up through the spine, coming back to seated. So there you have it. Those
Three practices flowing one into the other. They have a lot in common with each other: spine lengthening, back strength working. Let's come back onto the back to relax the body. So we're just going to, once again, roll down through the spine. We've done quite a lot of back bends and forward bends, one way and another. And let's just come into a little bit of a twist to release the spine. So on an exhalation, letting the legs gently flow towards one side. It doesn't really matter which way, just gently coming over and relaxing here, allowing the spine to let go for a few moments. And then again, just wheeling the spine back towards the center gently. And on an exhalation, letting the spine twist towards our other side, just gently and slowly coming over. And then again, as you're ready, just moving back through the spine and towards the center, all the way through. The spine may feel quite relaxed after that, and you may be ready just to lengthen the legs away and to relax. So you might think that after all you need to hug the legs in, just circle the lower back against the mat 2 or 3 times one direction, 2 or 3 times opposite direction. And then at the end of that quite strenuous practice, let's allow the legs to extend away from us, and the knees and the toes to roll outwards. A bit of space, again, organised through the spine, elbows and the backs of the hands rolling outwards. Spending a few moments simply to relax here on the mat. To be aware of the groundedness of the body with the earth, the points of contact through the backs of the heels, the points of contact through the backs of the legs, the points of contact through the back of the hips. Being aware of the weight, the heaviness, the contact that the back has with the mat beneath you. The contact between the shoulders and the solid earth beneath. The contact between the arms and the earth beneath and the hands. And the contact that the head has as well with the mat beneath. Just spending a few moments to really connect with the groundedness of the body at present. Just allowing with each exhalation that sense of being bound to the earth to intensify. Allowing the body to more completely relax into the support that is offered up from beneath. Just breath by breath, feeling the body relax more fully. And accept that support more readily. At the same time as the body is earthed here, letting the mind move upwards through the body. As the mind moves upwards, becoming aware of any sense of lightness, any sense of airiness or spaciousness that there may be through the body. Just spending a few moments to really engage with that lightness. Simply drift in that lightness. Exploring as the mind travels through lightness, whether the sensations perceived at present appear to travel beyond that actual space of the body.
allowing the mind to float without boundaries, without barriers. And gradually again, letting the awareness fold back into that length and breadth and depth of space that is the physical body. Just feeling that the awareness is once again firmly grounded, firmly centered within the physical body. Being aware of the sensations over the surface of the body again, air on the skin, clothing on the skin, and that real contact that the body has with the mat beneath it and the surface of the floor beneath it. And gradually letting the breath adjust again towards a length and a speed more suited to movement, and bringing movement back into the toes and into the fingers and back into the feet and into the hands. And there we can reach a stretch all through the length of the body, reaching into the arms, reaching into the legs, awakening the limbs, and also in between feeling the muscles engaging again about the spine and all through the back. And we let the eyes open again, so we're beginning to process our physical surroundings once more, letting the sense of hearing move out into the wider distance again. And it's often a good idea just to hug the legs in and towards us, just rock the hips side to side, releasing the back, just 2 or 3 times here. And then as you feel ready, we're going to roll over and come onto one side, resting on the side for a moment, and then rolling up from the side towards a seated position. Om Shanti Namaste. Well done. Thank you for watching, and see you on day 6 of the 30-day Yoga Asana Challenge.